Ragnarok now in theaters, I thought, just like everyone else, it would be a perfect time to give my ranking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. This is all the movies that feature characters that have or will feature in an Avengers movie. This excludes the Fantastic Four movies, all the X-Men movies, the first 5 Spider-Man movies, and a few others that I don't want to mention. And before I get into my ranking, how would you rank these movies from worst to best? Number 17 being your least favorite, number 1 being your most favorite. Let me know in the comments below. Let's get into this ranking. Coming in at number 17 is the disappointing The Incredible Hulk. Now this movie, when it first came out, sure, it was exciting, and then over time, it just doesn't fit in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for several reasons. One, it's not the same Hulk character that we have now. It's a different actor portraying Bruce Banner, and the only real character / actor that has come from this movie is William Hurt Ross, General Ross, Thunderbolt Ross, who appeared in Captain America Civil War. That's really the only character that comes through. This movie just did not feel right. Sure, the Abomination was a good villain, sort of. He gives Hulk a run for his money, and that's really all that I can say that's good for this movie. Liv Tyler, I don't know if she'll ever come back. Kind of hope she doesn't, because I like the Bruce Banner and Black Widow relationship that they have going on within the Avengers movies. Coming in at number 16 is Iron Man 3. This one was not directed by Jon Favreau, and it kind of shows, because Jon Favreau, he did awesome in Iron Man and Iron Man 2. I like those movies, especially Iron Man, and I'll get to those soon. But Shane Black directed this movie, and it just doesn't feel quite right. I mean, they kind of took an awesome character like War Machine and turned him into the Iron Patriot, which was a stupid move. His armor looks plastic, and all the technology that Tony Stark has made is just falling apart on him. It doesn't feel right, From Iron Man 1 to Iron Man 2, he made such great leaps in his technology, and then from Iron Man 2 to Iron Man 3, it feels like he just took several steps back, and his armor is just falling off of him. It can't stay together. A semi-truck hits him and hits the suit. He's not in the suit, and it just crumbles. It's like he took hits from bigger things and he stayed together. It didn't work for me. I did not like it. And the Mandarin, I mean, everyone talks about the Mandarin. I thought it was a stupid twist myself, but I did like Guy Pearce's performance. He was okay. I just don't understand why they made the extremist program, like why they thought that Pepper Potts should get infected with it. It never goes anywhere. It's only in that movie, and then it's done. It never comes back into play. It was stupid. Coming in at number 15 is Thor. This one is directed by Kenneth Branagh. It was okay when it came out. It was a good introduction to the character, but I appreciate at least the canted angles that they have and the filmmaking by Kenneth Branagh, but it just doesn't feel that great. And Loki as the villain in this movie wasn't that great, okay? This is proof that Marvel really struggles with their villains on their first outing, and I'll get back to that when I talk about Avengers later on. But overall, Thor was just not that entertaining. It had some good action scenes, and I like that they include nods to, Iron Man when the Destroyer comes in, and one of the agents actually says to Agent Coulson, like, is that one of Stark's? And he's like, he never told me anything. I like that connection, and S.H.I.E.L.D. being a big part of that movie. That was really the best part of it. Natalie Portman, she's just okay. Coming in at number 14 is Thor: The Dark World. This is the sequel to the last one, Thor, and I thought it very little improved on the first Thor. And I didn't like the recasting of Fandral, because I thought he was perfectly fine in the first one, but I don't know really why they did that. I think it was just, the actor didn't want to come back, even though he was still working for ABC, Disney, with Once Upon a Time. So it doesn't make sense. But anyway, this one introduced another Infinity Stone, which I appreciated. I didn't like how exactly it was handled. I did not like the Dark Elves. They were stupid and annoying. But I liked the working togetherness of Thor and Loki. After Avengers and the first Thor, Loki's been a bad guy. And then Thor's like, you know what? I need his help. So I like the camaraderie between them. I love that Loki like transforms himself into Captain America for a very short amount of time. It's a little bit more fun. I don't like Darcy, the character. She's super annoying in this one. Dr. Selvig is stupid. He doesn't wear pants because it helps him think. The best part about this movie is Thor in this movie. Throughout, he's still worthy to hold Mjolnir, and that's what made the first one not as good. He's just regular man. This is the movie that I thought should have introduced some more crossover characters. Like Iron Man should have been brought in. Other characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe should have been brought in. They already had the Avengers, so they could easily bring them into this movie, because this isn't just world ending. This was like universe ending, apocalypse with, you know, the Dark Elves having the ether and they're about to destroy everything as the whatever it's called is happening. The convergence, I think it's called. So I just thought that it was too big and it just failed. Coming in at number 13, this may be a bit controversial. It's Captain America, the First Avenger. This movie, again, did not quite feel like in Marvel Cinematic Universe. The tone wasn't quite right for it. I did like the tone of it being a war movie, but it just doesn't quite fit as a Marvel movie, you know? I liked the performances in it, except for Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull. I didn't like him as a villain. Sure, he's got some good moments, but some of the dialogue in this movie is just awful. Like, you don't give up, do you? And Captain America's just, nope. What? And there are other things in this movie, like, what makes you so special? Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. Like, come on. The writing in this movie was pretty weak. And the fact that, you know, Captain America takes control of the plane that's carrying all the bombs. The bombs haven't been armed, first off. He could probably figure out the landing thing. It's not on autopilot because he's clearly able to steer it. So instead he just crashes it into an icy island, which we assume is like Antarctica, or not Antarctica, but somewhere really cold. Siberia, who knows? But I didn't like it, and it doesn't quite, yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say. Coming in at number 12 is Iron Man 2. Now this one tried to be better than the first Iron Man. It failed, but it was still pretty entertaining. I didn't care much for the two villains in this movie. Whiplash, played by Mickey Rourke, and Justin Hammer, played by Sam Rockwell. I liked Sam Rockwell in this movie, but Mickey Rourke, it was just okay, and he's only really a villain in this movie, as physically fighting Iron Man and War Machine for just maybe 2 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. But I did love the setup for Avengers. I love that they bring in Black Widow, and, you know, Director Fury comes in, played by Samuel Jackson. I love that setup for it, and they even basically talk a lot about the Avengers, and you see all this video footage surrounding Tony Stark as he's looking like, oh my goodness, I have to deal with these people. And I don't know, I appreciated that setup, and I thought it was pretty well done. This movie didn't exist for the sole purpose of setting up the Avengers, but that was one of the purposes of this movie. And I still appreciated it. And the introduction of War Machine, with the recasting of Don Cheadle as Rhodes, I thought it was okay, and I kind of liked how they played it off in the beginning, where he's like, hey, look, it's me, I'm here, let's just get through this. Like, yeah, we're gonna admit that we had to recast this, but, you know, we're gonna tell you in the movie that this is what we had to do. So I liked it. I appreciated it. Coming in at number 11 is AntMan. This one was just more fun. It wasn't very serious. It had some serious moments, but for the most part, it was just a fun movie. I liked Paul Rudd's performance as Ant-Man. It was great. And I like the inclusion of S.H.I.E.L.D. being in, especially at the beginning, kind of in the 80s. And, you know, Peggy makes her reappearance, and that was fun. But I mean, how serious can you make a movie about a character named Ant-Man? And I was a bit worried about this movie, because I'm like, this is not gonna be that exciting. I mean, you're gonna have a microscopic character be a big star. It did work pretty well though. And I appreciate this movie for what it is. It's nothing spectacular, but it's fun. and I'm excited to see what he can bring in Avengers Infinity War. I hope they use him well, like they did in Captain America Civil War. Coming in at number 8 is the latest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is Thor Ragnarok. This movie was super fun. I had a great time watching it. However, like I said, coming in at number 8 is the latest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that is Thor Ragnarok. There may be potential spoilers in this part of the video. This movie I thought was a little bit too much fun, but it was a blast. I thought that some of the serious tones were undercut again, like in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I skipped over 10. Coming in at number 10 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now this one is the sequel to the highly successful Guardians of the Galaxy, which I loved. This one, it was good, but I felt that the serious parts were just undercut by comedic moments that were misplaced. Now, there are some moments in this movie that I actually almost cried in, especially the part where, spoiler alert, Yondu dies, and he basically has this really cheesy line where he says, "He may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy." But the acting in that scene with Chris Pratt, it was incredible, and just for him, I felt terrible for his character because he basically watches his father figure die right in front of him. And it's a really touching scene, but there's way too much forceful laughing out loud in this movie, in particular from Dave Bautista's character Drax and Rocket. But the cast, again, it's incredible, and I will get more to that when I talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Coming in at number 9 is Doctor Strange. I liked this movie. It was very entertaining. Benedict Cumberbatch delivers a great performance. However, I wish that they had just left his British accent alone. His American accent just doesn't feel quite right. And Benedict Cumberbatch just sounds awesome. So they should have left that alone. Rachel McAdams, she's good. Tilda Swinton did amazing as the Ancient One. Mads Mikkelsen, I thought he was a pretty good villain. Chiwetel Ejiofor, he did pretty good for his performance. I mean, everyone did well for their roles, and that's why I like this movie. It's a completely different movie, and they did it well. You know, when I was mentioning earlier that, you know, the tone just didn't feel right, that's because the tone wasn't right and they didn't do it well. This one, the tone was different because it's dealing with magic and stuff, but they did it right. They did it well. I liked how they mentioned the Avengers and how they deal with more, you know, physical threats. We deal with more mystical threats or whatever, spiritual threats. I liked that aspect of it, and I'm excited to see again how Doctor Strange does in the Avengers Infinity War. Coming in at number 8 is the latest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is Thor Ragnarok. This part may contain some spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, skip to the next part, and I assume you've already gone. So, this is the 3rd movie in the Thor franchise, and the 17th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I just thought that this movie, while it was fun and entertaining, the serious parts that should have been much more serious, such as character deaths, were just glossed over. These characters we have known for 2 other movies, and they're killed. Boom, they're gone, and you don't feel anything. And I thought that some of the humor was hilarious. There were a few laugh out loud moments, but in terms of a Thor movie and leading up to Avengers Infinity War, we only have one more movie until then. I thought we should have been introduced to an Infinity Stone or have more serious tones in this movie. We didn't get either. So that's why it's only at number 8. I wanted to have it much higher because I was super excited for this movie with the inclusion of Hulk and a new character, Valkyrie. And Loki was just okay in this movie. I still don't quite know what they have in store for his character, but Thor, you know, we'll see. He doesn't have his hammer anymore. I don't know if they're going to give him a new weapon or if he's just going to use his lightning, his sparkles. So we'll see. Coming in at number 7 is Iron Man. I know it's weird for me to put it all the way back at number 7, but this is how I feel that it should be. This is the one that started it all, bringing Robert Downey Jr. back into the spotlight as Tony Stark, and Iron Man. And it's one of the best origin stories that we have gotten in a comic book movie, because you see him, he has to earn it. He has to build everything for himself. He's not just given a shot of super strength and he's, oh, I'm strong now, like Captain America. The villain, he wasn't that great. The Ironmonger, played by Jeff Bridges. While I love Jeff Bridges and his voice, this one kind of suffered from the same thing that the original Hulk with Eric Bana suffered from, is the villain's only gonna really appear in the last battle. There's not gonna be any other fight scene between them until the final battle, and I didn't like that. I thought there should have been more confrontation between them, other than a few arguments and, you know, him activating this ear thing that it's like, oh, Tony Stark's all messed up now. But I love all the technology that he develops in this movie, Tony Stark. It's just awesome. It's a fun movie. It's cool, and it kicked everything off and really brought the whole post-credit things to the popularity that it is now. You know, a lot of people stay for end credit scenes because of this movie. You know, a few other movies did it before, but this one is the reason people stay for the credits now, because it had a huge plot reveal at the end credits, and I loved it. I didn't see it until a year or two later on DVD. I didn't stay for the end credit scene in the theaters, and I kind of regret that, because I would have been like, what is the Avengers? Because I wasn't a comic book reader. I'm still not a comic book reader, but I love the comic book movies. Coming in at number 6, I know this is again controversial to put above Iron Man and a few other movies, but it's Avengers Age of Ultron. I love this movie because, yes, I love the first Avengers movie, and this one just brought it to a different level. Maybe not a better level, but a different level. It introduced us to a few more characters. Ultron was, I thought, a great villain. Yeah, he was a little too fun and funny. James Spader's voice as Ultron was an incredible choice. I love his menacing tone, and he can deliver some of the action in a dry sense of humor, and it just works. I thought it worked really well. And the introduction of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and Vision, that was awesome. So, you know, we get a couple new characters and we get more character growth within these movies and a lot of setup. Some people argue that there's too much setup, but I thought it was handled with such elegance and finesse that it worked so well. You know, Hulk flying off into space to be in Thor Ragnarok. You get the conflict arising or building between Tony Stark and Captain America. The budding romance of Black Widow and Bruce Banner, the introduction of Vision. It's just, there's so much going for this movie. And yeah, you can argue that there's too much crammed into it, but again, I thought it was handled fantastically. Joss Whedon delivered another great Avengers movie. Here we go, we're in our top 5. So at number 5, I have one of the latest movies, and that is SpiderMan Homecoming. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. In fact, I just watched it the other night. And you know what? This movie is really fun. It's funny when it needs to be, and it's very serious when it needs to be as well. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm going to be talking some spoilers here, so you've been warned. I love the twist of the Vulture as Michael Keaton's character being Liz's dad, the girl that Peter Parker wants to take to Homecoming. And that twist, yeah, it could have been revealed in the trailer if you were really paying attention. I didn't catch that, unfortunately. I don't know why I didn't. But when it was revealed that, you know, Michael Keaton's character is Liz's father, your heart stops. And that whole scene, you're feeling what Peter Parker is feeling. And you're just like, ah. It's so uncomfortable and so well played out. And that is why I gotta put it so high. Sure, some of the action scenes, they're just okay, and it's maybe a little too much CGI, but it looks so good, and it's so fun. It's a good movie, and I like that it's not an origin story. They really quickly gloss over. It's like, yeah, the spider's dead, you can't be bitten by it again, let's move on. So, I'm excited because they introduced the Iron Spider, Spider-Man suit, in the end of this movie, and yeah, I am a little disappointed that they didn't include that Iron Man and Spider-Man flying through the city scene that you saw, that they like advertised in the trailer, I think 2 or 3 times in each trailer, not each trailer, but in 2 or 3 trailers, like, hey, this scene's gonna be sweet, and it's not even in the movie, so that kind of sucks. Coming in at number 4 is a bit controversial because a lot of people put it at their number 1 or 2, and that is Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Now, I put this at number 4 because I didn't feel like the villain was that great. The conflict wasn't that great. You know, yes, the Winter Soldier is the main villain, but the big villain is Robert Redford's character, and I just felt like he was just there, handled a little too easily. The big event that's going to take place is, you know, those helicarriers. They're just targeting millions or billions of people, and they're going to kill a lot of people. And instead of destroying these things, which, well, they don't want to cause too much collateral damage, they got to get on each one and switch out a chip, and that's just a little convoluted. I loved the introduction of Falcon. That was cool. There's a lot of great moments in this movie. The fight scenes are incredible. They took a character that just was shooting guns in the first one and throwing a shield around and made him a really great fighter using a lot of kicking moves, and just he looks so much cooler doing what he does in this movie. And the Russo brothers directed it. This was their first entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Definitely not their last, because they did the next Captain America movie, and they're doing Avengers Infinity War, and I am super excited to see how they handle all those characters, and I will get to that in a minute. Coming in at number 3 is the sensationally fun Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, like I said, this one is super fun. I enjoyed this movie thoroughly. It introduces these weird characters that when I first heard about it, that Marvel was making it, I was like, oh, Marvel, what are you doing? This is where Marvel is going to crumble. They have a talking tree, a talking raccoon. It's out in space. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. And you know what? It turned out to be one of their most successful movies, and my 3rd favorite Marvel movie. And they just did it so well. The casting in it was amazing. Bradley Cooper as the raccoon, Rocket Raccoon. Vin Diesel as Groot. And being only to say I am Groot, you know, that was funny. And it introduced us to another famous Chris. You know, we already have 3 of them. Why not add a 4th one? Chris Pratt was so fun and so cool. So yeah, this movie really brought him into the spotlight, which gave us, you know, Jurassic World and obviously Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I'm excited to see how the Guardians of the Galaxy stack up in with the Avengers, because, you know, Rocket Raccoon and Tony Stark, they're going to be butting heads, as well as Doctor Strange. Yeah, I just hope that they actually take their time and really give us a lot of character interactions and building up all these relationships. And I'm just excited because I love the Guardians of the Galaxy, and this movie is why. It's so fun. Coming in at number 2 is the Avengers. This movie was amazing. It was so fun. This is what we were originally building up to, because, you know, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, you know, those movies led up to this one. And this is the first time that we had ever seen anything like this, a shared universe. 5 years later, DC is still trying to catch up to Marvel because of this movie and the success of it. It was just sensational. It was so fun. Yes, you have the big players like Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, but you also have the smaller characters like Black Widow, Hawkeye, Nick Fury, and they kind of keep the movie grounded, and it's so fun. This movie is the reason why everybody loves Loki. On his first outing in Thor, nobody really liked him. I didn't like him. He was a weak villain. It's because of this movie and his second outing, that's why people like him. And that is the problem with Marvel. They're villains. They don't treat them fairly. They give them one outing. If they don't work, they're done. Except with Loki, they decided to give him a second try, and you know what? It worked really well. If they had given Red Skull a second try, I think it would have worked. If they had given Justin Hammer another try, I think it would have worked. And if somehow they could have kept Ultron alive, I think he would have been an amazing addition to Avengers Infinity War or another future movie. I just think that it's not fair that they've only kept one villain as a recurring villain. and that's Loki. But again, he was amazing in this movie, and I love the final battle. It's awesome. Now, before I go to my number one, if you're following along really closely, you probably already know what it is, but I want to keep those who don't know in suspense for just a little bit longer, and let's recap. At number 17 was Incredible Hulk. At number 16, Iron Man 3. Number 15, Thor. Number 14, Thor the Dark World. Number 13, Captain America the First Avenger. Number 12, Iron Man 2. Number 11, Ant-Man. Number 10, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 9, Doctor Strange. Number 8, Thor Ragnarok. Number 7, Iron Man. Number 6, Avengers Age of Ultron. Number 5, SpiderMan Homecoming. Number 4, Captain America the Winter Soldier. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2, Avengers. And finally, at number 1, Captain America Civil War. This movie I thought was phenomenal. It was basically Avengers 2.5, and honestly, I really liked Age of Ultron. And this one, yeah, there's really no villain in this movie. You can argue that Baron Zemo is the big baddie in it, but really all he does is instigate a fight scene. And it's Captain America versus Iron Man. And they put together teams and they fight against each other. And that airport battle is so fun and serious and amazing all at the same time, because it has some pretty serious implications in that fight scene. You know, there's some relationships broken in that movie. You even have Black Widow facing off against Hawkeye, and they're basically like, we're still friends after this, right? And he's like, depends on how hard you hit me, and they're still fighting each other. And even the introduction of Spider-Man into this cinematic universe was incredible. Yes, it was ruined in the trailer, but that was the main draw of that trailer, was Spider-Man is coming into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, how is this going to be a Captain America movie? It should have just been called Civil War, but it does maintain a Captain America central plot, and that's what I still like about it. Is Winter Soldier was a great movie, but this one carries on that storyline of, you know, Captain America still looking for Bucky. You know, he's trying to get his friend back, and it also introduces Black Panther. So this movie had a lot to bring in, a lot to introduce, a lot to carry through onto future movies, and it did it flawlessly. Sure, there are two big characters left out, Thor and Hulk, but you know what? That's because they kind of disappear in Avengers Age of Ultron, and that's explained in Thor Ragnarok. But I absolutely love this movie. It's incredible the way it's handled. The Russo brothers delivered another phenomenal Captain America movie. This movie right here is the reason that I am super excited for Avengers Infinity War, because the Russo brothers are directing that movie, and they dealt with so many characters in this one, and they have a lot more characters to deal with in Avengers Infinity War, with the inclusion of Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor and Hulk and all the characters that they're bringing from those franchises. And there's, I think, 60 some main characters in this movie that I cannot wait to see how it's handled. And yeah, we have Black Panther to come out before that, and I'm excited for that one, but Avengers Infinity War, that is the goal. And we have been waiting for Avengers Infinity War since the first Avengers movie, where they teased Thanos. Once we saw that post-credit scene, everyone was on their phones like, who is the purple guy in the chair? I had to do it too, and I'm like, I don't know who Thanos is. I asked my brother-in-law. He knows like everything has to do with comics, so I asked him, and he told me everything about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be huge. They're going to bringing in all these characters to fight this one character. That's awesome. And with the Infinity Gauntlet, oh man, so excited for Avengers Infinity War, and Captain America Civil War is probably the main reason that I am that excited for it. So that is my ranking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. What did you guys think of my list? Did you disagree? Were you disappointed with where I put a few movies? How would you rank the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies? Let me know in the comments below. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say about my list, and I want to see where you guys rank these movies. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified of when we upload new content. I have just launched our Patreon page where you can support us financially if you feel led to, no pressure at all. Watching this video is support enough, and I thank you very much for watching. But yeah, again, I have launched our Patreon page where you can be rewarded for your support by getting early access to videos, thank you credits, and a few other rewards. So definitely check it out, it's fun. I'm giving it a shot. I don't know what to expect out of it. I feel weird talking about it, but you know what? Everyone else is doing it, so I'm gonna give it a shot too. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.